All right, everybody. So the plan is to sit for a few minutes, and then we're going to transition onto our back. But let's start in a comfortable seat. So let's go with two options for this opening seat. Sukhasana, our simple cross with either leg out in front, demonstrated here, or the Dandasana, staff pose, which has a couple advantages. I mean, you've got a nice long surface area of leg to get stable with, in addition to the bottom of your pelvis. It's very symmetrical. One leg doesn't have to even be further out in front, and it tends to be really easy on the knees. And the hands, we've got the mudra options on the lap, nested like a little bowl, kind of right at the inside of your belly, or anchored up at the breastbone. And feel free to softly close your eyes. Verbal cues will likely suffice, but it's also perfectly fine to have your eyes softly open. And let's begin by taking the awareness right to the breath. Wherever the sensory feedback's strongest for you. So whether you feel it most through the head, maybe through the nose, maybe through the mouth. Maybe you feel a lot of action through the upper part of the chest and kind of through the shoulders and the throat. You might get a lot of feedback from your abdomen and your diaphragm moving. Your belly expanding, contracting. And a handful of us, either on purpose or just by happenstance, might be listening to the sound of the breath. And for some it might be silent. And just sort of be with however it's unfolding for you. So, we set this intention as we got open our practice here, an intention of taking the attention to the breathing sensations. And without any willful act on your own, at least it wouldn't seem that way, our attention gets taken in other directions, inevitably. And so it's at that moment, at least with traditional mindfulness type meditation, that's when we can make a little mini decision. And just kind of get carried away in wherever the thought was taking us, or come back. That coming back again and again. And coming back with a frame of mind such that it doesn't in any way, shape, or form feel like we did something wrong by the attention drifting. In fact, it's almost like a good sign. You noticed it. You were there. You caught it. And you came back. To parse it out a little bit technically, we're really using the breath more as an object of meditation. And we're in that subtle realm of what the yogis call dharana and dhyana, concentration and meditation, which is a little different than when we just practice pranayama and we're simply just doing a breathing exercise for its own sake. So just in these waning 2 minutes, start again. Letting your curious, open, accepting, and loving attention follow breathing sensations. And when something else bubbles up, note it. And gently come back to the breath. Everybody, So from here, let's go ahead and kind of transition out of that meditation. And let's all get into this Dandasana shape where the legs are extended straight out in front. Some of you might not be a change from your opening. Some of you it's a new shape to find. All right. And once you're up in Dandasana, we're actually going to, kind of like a chaise lounge, at the hips basically. A little bit of spinal movement. Lean back some. So you can post up on your arms. Lift up a little through your chest. Kind of strategically lengthen out through the back of your neck. Oh, goodness. I've got my hands spun so the fingers face directly backward, but they could face outward. That's fine too. And you can play with this one a little bit. You can add some twisting, which will happen kind of naturally if you just alternate bending the elbows. Oh. You can vary the angle of the hands and still be up to pretty much the same stuff. And one other alternate is you can have both arms straight behind you, fingers reaching backward without bending the elbows, and just reach the arms further back. So you've got more extension. Kind of a stronger stretch. Ooh. All right. Let's bring it on up to a normal seat. All right. And as I mentioned, as we got started today, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you wind up doing this later, we're going to come onto our back. I'm going to flip around. You don't have to. And we're going to come onto our backside. So once you're on your back, we're going to stand on 2 flat feet, right? So both feet have a nice kind of solid foundation on the floor or on your mat. Your arms can be wherever feels comfortable. Now, from here, we're just going to do some simple rocking of the feet forward and backward. So you're going to lift up the top of the feet. So you're just on your heels. And then you're going to lift up the bottom of your feet such that your heels lift. So you're going to go backward and forward. Top wheels lifted near the pads, heels lifted. And just go back and forth, feeling it out. If it, for whatever reason, induces a little cramp in your calf, maybe try to reposition your feet. Do a slightly smaller version. But if you can't, try about 15 more. Just feet flexing, feet extending. Pointing, extending. Or flexing, sorry. Pointing and flexing. Last few. All right, so next move, we're going to relax that. Oh. And we're going to extend the left leg out along the mat. So we've got left leg long, any comfortable arm shape, right leg bent, foot flat. So now instead of going forward and back with the foot, we're going to go left to right at the foot. So we're going to rock into the outer edge of the foot by lifting the inner edge. And then we're going to rock into the inner edge by lifting the outer edge. Lift the inner, and then lift the outer. Lift the inner part of your foot, outer part stays down, and then lifting the outer part of your foot with the inner part staying down. Now, notice as we're going through this, the knee moves a lot, right? So we're inner foot, outer foot, tons of movement from the knee. It's fine. We'll just go with that for now. Okay? Then, let's switch legs. So now we're going to leg number 2. First time on this leg going side to side. Inner edge lifts, outer edge lifts. Inner edge lifts, outer edge lifts. I'm propped up a little bit just to make sure it's easier for you all to see me, but it's fine for you to just be lying completely flat on the floor. Super relaxed through your shoulders, totally relaxed through the neck and the head and the jaw. I know you might have to, look up once in a while to make sure you're going along with the program. But for the most part, you can just relax back and down. Okay. Then release that. So now, we're going back to leg number 1. Lift the inner edge. Lift the outer edge. But now for the next minute or two, see if you can do it without moving the knee. Lift outer edge. Lift inner edge. Lift outer edge. It's a whole different ball game, right? So without that knee moving around, it's just your ankle making these pronate and supinate angles. It's a really good exercise. One just kind of feels nice, explores a good healthy range of motion in your ankle. It's kind of cool to explore the difference between just the one joint doing it down at your ankle versus when ankle and knee are both along for the ride. Oh my God. I actually find it kind of challenging. And then when you're ready, everybody, release that. We're going to leg 2, round 2 of pronate supinate. Inner edge lifts, outer edge lifts. Just to clarify, this round, no knee movement. Very little at all. Just ankle, ankle. Inside, outside. Inside, outside. Back and forth. Oh. Ooh. Last few. Okay. Next, keep that leg bent, the leg we've been working. Go back to leg number 1 and thread it through leg number 2. So you just kind of relax it, thread it, relax it, thread it, relax it, thread it. So you're doing that basically like half of Baddha Konasana and then back to a neutral hip. Half of Baddha Konasana, back to a neutral hip. External rotation and back to neutral. Last couple. Oh man, that feels good. Last one. New side. So by threading, I think it's clear just from the movement, but I'm just letting that one foot, now this left side, slide right between right foot and right glute. Right in that little space. Last couple. Bonus, last one. Okay, let's release all of that. So then, we're going to straighten both legs just for a moment, just to kind of shake it out. Now we're going to bend right leg. We're almost done with this little part. We're going to take that left leg and thread, but just leave it there. Now we're going to go back to one of the earlier exercises. That right foot that stands flat on the floor, you're going to lift inner edge, and you're going to lift outer edge back and forth. So lifting outer, lifting inner, lifting the outer, lifting the inner. And I know it's a little challenging interacting with the screen and the sensations in your body, but you know, as much as you can, go into the sensations in your body and check in with the screen just as you need to. So we've got one just permanently threaded leg and one foot that's on the pronate supinate tip. Oh. Okay. Oh my gosh, that feels good. One more round, switching sides. We're, like I said, we're almost done with this little foot ankle sequence. New leg threads. New left foot stands on the floor. Inner lifts, outer lifts. Inner lifts, outer lifts. These are movements with very little help from the knee. It's basically just that ankle movement. Oh. And then let's release that. I saved the best for last. Last one adds only one component. Right foot stands on the floor. Left foot threads. Nothing new so far. But as you're lying down, I'm propped up so you can see, but as you lie down, you're going to hold your forehead with your right hand. Hold your forehead with your right hand like you're checking your temperature. Pronate and supinate your right foot, inside edge, outside edge. And as you pronate, supinate your foot, you're going to let your head gently rotate with your hand in control. Now, here's the really curious thing. I didn't prompt it. Most of you have never done this move. I've hardly taught it. But you're probably finding that as you rotate your head side to side, it's going right along with your pronate supinate of your foot. Can you decouple those actions? In other words, can you still pronate and supinate your foot? Can you still turn your head, but not timed together per se? That's the last little subtle element to work on. And then finally, when you're ready, let's release and just get that going one time on the new side. So the last round, just to make this clear, so I don't teach this one often, and it gets kind of complicated at this point. Left flat foot on the floor, right foot goes into permanent thread mode. You've done it a ton, so it's not too complicated. Pronate, supinate with little knee movement, but then adding the turning of the head with the assist from the arm. And first just let it happen. And even if it goes like perfectly along together. Your pronate and your turn, and your supinate and your turn. Just notice it. And then eventually see if you can decouple. And by decoupling, maybe your head turns right when your inner foot is lifted. But maybe your head turns right when your outer foot is lifted. Maybe your head stays to the left for an entire round of foot going back and forth. Working on that decoupling. It's a very mindful practice. I mean, you're in your body, so it's very bodyful, but you've really got to attend to it. And it shouldn't be a brow furrower. Just play with it, you know? If you're... Just play with it. When you're ready, everybody, let's let that go. Let's straighten both legs out. Shake them out a little bit. All right. Last movement from down here. I'm going to show you from the side. You're going to still lie down. We're going to take both arms into like some inward rotation. So that looks like this kind of cactus-y pose first, turned down like a scarecrow, and then the palms come down on the ground. Forearms down on the ground. Elbows down on the ground. Now, if you can, slide your hands just under the back of your waist. For me, the tips of my index fingers are touching. Oh my gosh, that feels so good. And now what's happened for me is I can feel my right scapula has kind of pronated a little bit, drawn forward, started to peel off the ground. The left one feels fine. So what you want to try to do, and hopefully both of yours feel fine, is just kind of let those scapula get flush to the floor, kind of roll them back and down. Those are your shoulder blades. But to some degree, because we've got about a minute and a half left in this pose, just let gravity take over. So you don't force it too much. So there's a gentle, intentional current of energy drawing you back and down. But there's also just allowing the weight of your body on your forearms, allowing gravity, just kind of letting it happen. Last minute. Whew. All right. Let's shimmy those arms out from under. Make your way back up to our opening movement post-meditation. We're going to sit in Dandasana again for a second. We're going to post up on those arms again. Take your time getting here. And this time we're going to take a big straddle with the mat, or straddle around the mat. And what we're going to do on this one is rock off the outer edge of your foot, but really allow the knee to move, but mainly try to rotate from your hip. So the ankle is going to be involved a little bit like it's been thus far in almost every exercise, but now we're moving more from the hip. Less movement on this outer leg, all the movement you can find on the inner leg. Come back, rotate from your hip, focus most of the intention on this inner leg, on the leg that has the inner movement, and go back and forth. Now, If you're feeling like this is a really comfortable exercise for you, and you want it a little more challenging, maybe cease posting up with your arms, right? So you're no longer using the support from the ground, possibly, and you're making this pose happen just without posting up. I'm starting to take that outer leg pretty far into my range of motion as well. So last couple. You can also add a little bit of a reach out past that outer leg, which feels great. A reach. So that does a couple things. One, it starts to bring this inwardly rotated hip deeper into the movement, leans me further into the movement on the outer rotation, on the outward rotation hip, and getting some nice twist through the spine. Feels awesome. And then lastly with this guy, if you want to prop it up into something that looks a little like a bridge, a weird bridge. That doesn't work for everybody. Some knees are unhappy with that. Don't do it then. Or you could do some like midway zone. Or maybe you're like, I remember those posted up arms. Those would be helpful now. Then I can bridge up with a little help from the hands. Okay. And then let's bring it on back to center. And let's shimmy into an all fours position, everybody. All right, so from here, we're going to set the right elbow down. And it's going to angle across a little to the left. Then we're going to set the left elbow down in front of or closer to the top of your mat. Now, I am nowhere close to this at the moment, but you might be able to bring the backs of your wrists a little closer together and still keep a karate chop on the floor. Oh my gosh, that feels so good. So, just checking in, we've got about 1 minute here. 2 elbows on the floor, 2 forearms on the floor, 2 karate chopped hands on the floor, 2 shoulder blades spread wide apart, an upper back that's just stretching, collarbones, breastbone getting like a little more on the narrow side. Ooh, backs of the hands maybe a little closer together if that feels good. Yowzer. All right, and then let's release that. Oh, God, that feels so good. As a little reset, just sit on your heels. Reach the right arm forward. Palm up. Like you can hold a bowl of soup. And then reach that hand directly over your collarbone. Point the elbow upward any amount like you're reaching this hand now down your back. Oh! And now we add an assist. This guy is going to just help this guy out. Wow. Okay. All right. And then everybody, let's release that goodness. Come back down to this one. And let's get the new elbow out in front. So left down, right down. We should have the new arm out in front. Oh. Same task. Forearm, the edges of your forearms down, like karate chop movement. All the way out to the inner edges of your wrists. Ooh. If it feels pretty palatable, maybe those forearms come closer together, but Good chance they actually don't. Just sitting into that stretch through your mid-upper back. Feeling those shoulder blades broaden apart. Pressing the floor a little bit with those forearms. Oh. Okay. And then let's release that. One more time, sit back on the heels or on tucked toes. Right, so if you want an alternate seat, you can be on tucked toes. And now we've got the left arm to work with. Supinate. Let's palm up. Reach. Oh my goodness. Just right over your own collarbone, onto the back of your own shoulder. That would be creepy if it was on the back of somebody else's shoulder. I mean on the back of like this same side. All right. And then this guy's going to provide a little assist. All right. And then finally, everybody, let's release that. And we're going to make our way up to standing. And one we've done a couple times in our virtual sessions together here, and one I'm just really loving more and more, and it's kind of connected to some stuff we've already done. Part of a sequence that's great for carpal tunnel and for shoulders and neck. This is our last little part of that. We're going to take the right arm out. Is it lost in the bushes here? So you can take the right arm out, palm up, and we're going to let the head just fall in the direction of the arm. So I've got lateral flexion going on the neck. Imagining that right ear just kind of landing on the right bicep or the elbow. And then bringing the head back to neutral, center. Bending the arm, hand to shoulder. Then lifting the elbow. And then letting the head go away from that seam. So it's ear away from shoulder on this one, but that shoulder and elbow are kind of creeping up toward the ear. And then back to neutral head, back to relaxed arm. Then we open the arm, palm up, and let the head just softly release in its direction. Oh. Let the head tilt the opposite direction. And lift the elbow up. Ooh. Just a couple more on this side. Last one. Wow. All right. So let's get the other side going here. Arm reaches out like a T. Palm faces up. Head relaxes, releases in that direction. As head comes back to center, arm starts to bend. As the arm starts to rise, especially up through your elbow, head tilts away. And then we just go back and forth. Head left out toward the open arm. And head away as we're lifting. Head out toward open arm. And away as we're lifting. Let's just try one more. Ooh, goodness. All right. So from here, let's take the feet about as wide as the mat. Cue the knees out like you were trying to break a band, or another way to think about it, because a lot of people don't work with the TheraBands all the time, so it doesn't translate. Kind of like you're just stretching your mat out. Right? Like you don't want a wrinkle in the center of it, and you're just going to iron it out a little bit. And come down to a squat. You can settle in for a moment. And let's give it about 20 breaths. So, experiment. But maybe at first experiment with a foot that feels pretty sound and stable on the floor. But then maybe once in a while you play with, well, what if the weight's a little more forward? What if it's a little more to the outer edge? What if it's a little more back? For me, I kind of like steering the knees slightly open, keeping in that action of splitting the mat. Leaning a little bit more into the outer edge of the feet. Just that kind of naturally happens with that hip split. Trying to keep the weight a little bit more in the heels, but forward is okay too if your knees feel totally at peace with it. It's fine. 5 more breaths here. So what we're going to do from here, everybody, is reach the arms out like airplane wings, palms face forward. Then we're going to turn the palms so they face backward, or almost up to the sky. Then we're going to sweep the hands on the tail, basically where we had them for that relaxation exercise. But now they're in working mode. So let's try about 10 times in a row. Out like a T. And then back on the tail, palms up. Out like a T, palms forward. Back on the tail, palms up. Out like a T, palms forward. Back on the tail, palms up. About 5 more times. The legs should be cooking. The arms should feel like, oh, I've seen some of these movements, but now there's a little more to coordinate. There's a little more to lift. Last 2. Oh. Last 1. And then to transition, won't get much easier. Come down to your tucked toes and your hands, but no knees on the floor if you can get away with it. And make little crawling movements. I'm coming your way. All right, but now I'm going to put it in reverse. Coming your way again. And back. Last couple crawls. Obviously take a break as you need to. Or you could do a version where your knees are on the floor. But off the floor is a really good exercise. I think we got a mic on, but that's okay. Then everybody, let's come to downward facing dog. Whew. We're going to lift the right leg up behind us. Step the right foot forward. And just work in and out of that world's greatest stretch. So we've got a little downward push on the lunge. And a little backward pull. Pushing hips down, hands on floor, hands on blocks, wherever you like, and then pulling hips back. Rocking onto a flat foot, pulling back with that foot. So again, it's kind of leaning into exercises we did earlier with the ankle, but now a little bit more to coordinate, a little more weight to support. Last one. And then down dog. Give it about 10 breaths. Create those adamantine arms so they're nice and steady. Feel a little melting through the back of the heart, so there's just kind of a softness to the pose as well. And then when you're ready, everybody, lift that left leg up, step it forward, and then just go back and forth, pushing and pulling, the lunge. Oh. And then as you're ready, oh goodness, that feels nice. We're going to shift into a plank position. And if you want a little bit extra here, you can try some push-ups. Good old-fashioned push-ups. Elbows out at about 45 degrees. Shoulder blades spread at the top. Keep a little strength in your belly and your butt. But pretty much all of us should be able to get as many as we can do. Right? As many as we can do in about a minute. When you feel like you've had your last push-up of the session, you're just going to come down and rest on the belly. And we're going to prop up on the forearms. Let the feet be about as wide as the hips. Whoa, feels great. Okay, so just checking in, everybody. Once you finish those last push-ups, we're coming to a prone position. That's belly down, forearms down, palms together. Feet are pretty wide, neck relaxed. And let's reconnect to some breathing. Now, anywhere you're able to tune into your breath is great. It's all part of the feedback experience. But this shape in particular will probably deliver lots of awareness down to your belly. And so feel that diaphragmatic breathing. And just the sense that the belly very much relaxes and just sort of slings its way into the floor comfortably. On every inhalation, you can feel your belly trying to expand more and more, though it doesn't have a lot of room to expand. The breath will go somewhere. You can feel it. You can feel it across your back. You can feel it through your side. If for whatever reason your head is, and your neck of course, feels way better down here, you can camp out there. Maybe some hybrid version where you're propped up on one fist. And if that Sphinx pose is feeling really good, we're just going to stick with that for the last minute here. So I know I've made mention of this before in live sessions, but given you've got a pretty flat floor, which seems like a fairly safe assumption, some version of prone lying, whether we've got as much back bend as we do now, or as flat as this, is very soothing for the nerves along the back. Right, it's just like there's like nerves here, and the muscles here, and the muscles are, everything's kind of falling away from the nerves more. And if we were lying in a hammock, that same would be true, but we might wind up overly extended and kind of wind up in like a banana-like shape, and then that could put its own sort of strain on the back. We're regulated by the flat surface, but straight down enough to make it really soothing. So from here, we're going to transition onto our backside. And just as you come onto your back, everybody, we're going to reach both arms up toward the sky, ceiling. Pose we often do in the very beginning of class, but we're going to turn the little dials, or imaginary dials. I'm just going to shake it out a little bit. Shaking out the wrists, and the arms, and hands, fingers. And then we're going to let the arms find a nice, comfortable spot down along the outside edge of your mat somewhere. Take a moment and really try to center your head on the X and the Y axis, so that's centered between the ears and kind of level in terms of tilted or tucked. And optimally letting your eyes close very softly. But one visualization that is kind of nice to play with is sensing that space between the eyes, across the brows, that's very soft, relaxed, maybe even feeling open. And just letting the legs relax on the ground. Completely relaxing your feet, your ankles. Feeling just all that relaxation through your low back and through your waist. And your rib cage relax and settle onto the floor. Feeling your shoulders release. And again, checking back in one last time to maximal relaxation through your face. Just the sense that third eye can open. The brows are soft. And just finding a few minutes here to let go. And we'll just have a corpse pose experience for a few minutes. So just start to tune back into your breathing. And just take your time, everybody, but whenever you're feeling about ready to transition, you can rock to one side and push up, or rock and roll your way up to a seat. All right, so as we come back full circle, back to the same place we started from tonight. Maybe there's a little variant. Maybe you started with straight leg and now you're in cross leg, or vice versa, but we're going to just wrap with 2 minutes here of sitting. So go ahead and bring your hands to your heart. Which on a separate note, could become a more popular greeting throughout the world, not just in the yoga community. A little namaste as we safely pass one another. Anyway, so let's come to a seat and just reconnect to your breath for a moment. And just send a little private thanks out to everybody else who's practicing now as well. And I thank you all for tuning in and showing up and doing some yoga together. Namaste.